Are you ready? It's the Roundtable with me, Robert Bannon.
Welcome to the Roundtable, everybody. My name is Robert Bannon. You're listening to us on Broadway World over here on the Broadway Podcast Network, iHeart, and on Spotify. Ever since I moved to Detroit a year ago, we've been getting in touch with the incredible Metro Detroit talent that tours around the world and is everywhere. And our next guest is just down the road. Maybe not down the road. All right, maybe like a 40-minute drive. Maybe 40-minute drive over to Ann Arbor. He's been touring. He's toured with some of the biggest acts. He's been performing here in Metro Detroit and all around the world. And now you need to be streaming his new music. Apparently, he has a message in his music, a lot about heart, a lot about mental health, a lot about keeping us all together in a peaceful, positive way. When I read about his music and listen to it, it's good for the soul and the spirit. And we're here for all that he has to. And I'm going to see him in a few minutes. We're going to go check out some music together. He's my new best friend. Nadim Azzam, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
When I get nervous about a name, I'm so sensitive about messing someone's name up that I chicken out. So please tell us your name.
Nadim Azzam.
And see, I knew it. I knew Nadim. And then when I was getting to the last name, I chickened out on you. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries. So it's an Arabic name. It's Egyptian Palestinian. Nadim means loyal friend, drinking companion, and storyteller. And Azzam means determined.
So you're the determined storyteller is what it is. That sounds like a songwriting artist to me, if I've ever heard of it. And
my mother's last name is Bardenstein. And that means, well, you could interpret it to mean the stoned bard. So
when your cultural background, are you Egyptian and Palestinian, or what is
so my father's Egyptian Palestinian, raised in Egypt, and my mother's Jewish American. So I'm right in the middle.
Okay. This is not meant to be political, but I mean, you are literally both sides of your family culturally have been going through it in this world. So how do you live in a home to make sense and peace of all the things that are going on? If I may ask.
I'm lucky in my family that we choose love and understanding. It is a very, very difficult time in the world. And as we know in Gaza, it's been very difficult because I have family, as you said, on both sides, and I can't, it's impossible for me to dehumanize one group of people or the other. And it's also impossible to look away at a situation where human beings don't have rights and they're losing their homes and their lives. And,
Absolutely.
It's been an important thing to me in my life for a long time, obviously being born into it. For a long time when I was younger, it's like, oh, I'm both. It was kind of just like an icebreaker, surface level thing that I didn't really comprehend because I grew up as an American kid here, and I've had my own journey of coming to terms with my identity. And also it just happened to coincide at the same time that it's happening on the world stage. And it's like, I always come from the perspective of, at the end of the day, like human beings, we have two choices. We can talk or we can fight. And if people don't have freedom, and if they don't have human rights, and if they aren't able to live the good life that all of us, have access to and want to live, then how can there be peace? People need to have basic human rights and safety, for everyone. And it's especially, these are generational traumas and things that run deep, and one wrong doesn't justify another.
Thank you for being so open and sharing that, because I think we all need those words nowadays, and we have more in common than we do have apart. I think we remember we're all humans, and that's what I love so much about your music. You're a rapper, you're a writer, you're a singer. You do a little bit of it all, but at the end of the day, you address some of like the most prevalent issues. If it's addiction, if it's depression, if it's mental health, like you're not only singing about girls, money, and cars out here. You're talking about something deeper and more serious. Why is that important to you as a songwriter?
Yeah, it's always, especially being a guest culturally in hip hop, it's always just felt like a very sacred art form and something to take seriously. And I don't judge other people for the music they write and the life experience that they want to share, the ideas they want to reflect. But to me, it's always just, this is really important. If you're on the microphone, say something that matters. And the music that sort of saved my life and guided me has always been the music that spoke honestly about pain. And it's interesting because in the industry, everyone's always talking about, oh, you got to get your upbeat songs, your pop songs, your hits, da, 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 da. But if we look at, you know, the largest artists throughout history, they're the ones who spoke honestly about pain in a way that, you know, obviously sounded good and felt good, but it was honest. And for me, like, you know, my favorite writer, my favorite artist of all time is James Baldwin. And he had this, when I was 15, my godmother sent me an article by him called The Artist's Struggle for Integrity. And that became like my Bible. I read it every day for years. And in it, one thing he talked about is, you know, as an artist, it's like your pain is trivial, except insofar as you can use it to connect with other people's pain. And insofar as you can do that, hopefully you can be released from it. And then hopefully it works the other way around too, that by telling you what it is to suffer, perhaps I can help you to suffer less. And that sort of just stuck with me since 15. And it's just been like, okay, life is songwriting experience. What can I learn and grow? You know, like my favorite rapper is Kendrick Lamar. And one thing he said in an interview years ago was like, I don't try to write better music. I try to be a better human being. You know, it's like, how can I grow as a human being, have better life experience and better things to say? Because, you know, having a voice and being able to reach people is important. And like I said, I don't judge other artists, but I do feel that, man, there's so many out there that I'm like, you could say so many things that could uplift so many people. You know, it doesn't have to be selfish or corporate driven.
Absolutely. And that's what is so great and fascinating about what you do and about your music, is that you can make music that has something to say, with sick beats, with fun vocals, with incredible instrumentation. You use a lot of synth, you use a lot of real instruments, you play around with the studio with your sounds. But at the end of the day, it's about the storytelling and it's about the lyrics and it's about what you're trying to get across from you. When did you know you wanted to be an artist and a musical artist in that sense?
I don't, you know, it's like my whole life, music has just been fascinating to me. You know, one of the childhood pictures that's on our fridge that I remember was like me with a guitar writing a song at like a year old or something. But it started like in middle school. My best friend, my next door neighbor, started playing electric guitar. And I was like, all right, I got to copy him. I got to play guitar too. And, you know, rest in peace, Ozzy Osbourne. The first song I ever learned was Crazy Train. And then I became like, I was a huge Guns N' Roses fan. I had like hair down to my shoulders. I was trying to be Slash. And I got really into like the hard rock. And, you know, just started with electric guitar and expanded from there. And
yeah. And then you decided at some point that hip hop and rap was an element into this. So, and a lot of times people don't realize how much rock and hip hop go together, and some of the greats have merged them together. So when did that become part of your artistry?
Yeah, it was like, you know, probably late in middle school, early in high school, I started writing raps because I was a huge hip hop fan, you know, and being from around here, it's like Eminem's from around the corner, and was the biggest artist of the decade when I was growing up and getting into music. And I was a huge fan of like B.O.B. as well, because it was like, oh, someone else who plays the guitar and sings and raps, like if they can do that, I can do that. But I was very like afraid to be who I was. Like, oh, you can't be a rapper. You don't do that. You have long hair and you're like a rock kid, you know? But I just I had an experience I mean, I could tell the story if you want, sort of a crazy experience in the desert in Utah, because I was, that sort of led me to start singing and rapping and being a vocalist, because I was very shy. I just wanted to be a guitarist and hide behind the hair on the guitar. And, you know, I was a troubled teen, so I got sent to one of those like wilderness programs in Utah. And as part of that, they have you do like a 3-day solo where you're like by yourself, 500 yards away from everybody. And mine just happened to be like, it looked like Pride Rock in The Lion King. And they're like, oh, by the way, there's like a mountain lion watch, so just yell if you need anything. And I'm like sleeping on the desert floor and, you know, like with a sleeping bag on a sleeping pad. And I was just really getting into like self-discipline and meditation at the time. And I decided, okay, I'm going to fast during this like 3-day solo and really sit with myself. And the therapist at the place was like, okay, that's cool. Why don't you like not read or write or do anything either, and just really literally sit with yourself? And I did for 3 days. And, you know, I was like, I'm going to meditate so hard until I figure out enlightenment or something, you know what I mean? And I got incredibly depressed actually. And then there was like this doctor who was like, came out once a week to check on all the kids and make sure you're good. And he was just like the nicest guy. We just had like a conversation for half an hour and he walked away. And I'd been feeling like, you know, man, if this is the point of meditation and enlightenment, I feel so down. Like, I don't want it. This isn't it. And then after that conversation, it was like connection. And it was like, oh, other human beings, like we're here to be with each other, to connect with each other, to like, you know, lift each other up. And he walked away and I started singing and wrote a song. And it was like, voice in my head was like, you do this now, you're a singer. And so I revisited all the things I'd written as raps. And then I was like, what if I put these over the acoustic guitar? And it was like before Ed Sheeran came out and was doing that. So I was like, it sort of went from there. And I got to tour with Matisyahu. We did like a campus tour during the last war in Gaza, sort of a unity tour to bring students together on both sides and we did like a discussion at every campus and then played a show. And I took the money from the tour and built a studio. And so I could learn how to produce. And, I had these ideas for sounds in my head that I couldn't do on a guitar. And it was time to, expand. And it's sort of just been a process of yes and, like, oh, what if I added this to the mix?
Well, you can go to his website, nadimmusic.com. The links for all of this music, the songs are out. You can stream his music wherever you listen to music. You can go to his Instagram page and you can follow. I'm going to be following in a minute. What is it like now for you as an artist? What's the next? Is there new music out? Are there live shows on the horizon? Like, what is next on your bucket list?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a crazy year, a very fun, busy year. I've got a new EP, DNA Volume 2, out now. I had like a feature in Our Magazine earlier, and I just played at the Aretha on Wednesday, opening for Raheem DeVaughn and Tidra Moses, and that was a dream come true. It's like my favorite venue in the world. So yeah, I'm actually very excited to hunker down and finish the new songs I've been writing and get some more out to the world. And yeah, stay tuned for new tours and shows coming.
You know what I like about you just did the show at the Aretha, and what I love so much about the Aretha is the Aretha focuses on a lot of Detroit and Metro Detroit based talent. Like Black Bach was there the week prior, and then you're there this week. Like this is great that and then shout out to Raheem DeVaughn and his team. He sings his face off.
Amazing.
Amazing. The Aretha, one of the top 100 venues every year voted in this country. It's a great place to see a show. So what is a show like with you? What is the vibe?
I mean, I'm incredibly fortunate to have some of the best musicians in the world playing with me on stage. My musical director is Marcus Devine, who's worked with everyone from Aaliyah to Genuine, and the list goes on and on and on. And so at this point in my career, I feel the most like supported musically that I ever have, and it's like fun and exciting, and I know they're gonna kill. I know we're gonna do great, and having that, it's like having the wind at your back. So really incredible musicians, and we just like to have fun. It's like I want to share the message. Obviously the music goes deep, but it's also like, that's the power of music, is sonically, it not only can it connect us with our humanity, but it can just let us be free and release. And especially in this age, we're so isolated digitally and otherwise. It's like actually coming together and being with human beings and celebrating life and connecting over art. It's like, we take it for granted, but it's an incredible experience.
Absolutely. Your music, you talk about in other interviews and stuff that it has grown very much throughout time. Like it obviously evolves, and your message evolves, and your musicality evolves. So how do you look at what you put out now compared to, say, when you first, started releasing music commercially?
I mean, when I first started, it was like I was limited by here, half a second.
No, please go ahead.
Turn that sound off. My bad.
No worries, you're good.
It's real life out here.
We added it right out. No worries.
Yeah, I mean, I started, like I said, like with acoustic guitar and writing songs with that. And, I always felt like I had something to prove because I had this identity, I guess, culturally and musically. I have this thing with my identity where it's like, I don't really know where I fit and where I sit, and I get to move around in that. But it was confusing. So I would feel like, I did this acoustic project and I got a good reception on that. And then it was like, but I can rap, guys. I want to be a rapper. So then the next thing I have to do is like focused on that. And then it's like, well, don't forget, I'm a good guitarist too. And it's like, it felt like so many different things I was trying to chase. And I really feel now more grounded and able to, like you said it earlier, like the most important thing to me is the lyrics and the writing. I feel like a poet and all of these other things are just tools and mediums to get the idea across. And so I feel much freer and much less controlled by expectations. And like, that's where the real fun stuff happens, where you're like, what if I take this element from this genre and put it over here? And, these can come together. And yeah, so now I'm just excited to get back into the studio. And, I got a lot of acoustic songs, and I haven't really released an acoustic project in a while. So that might be on the horizon.
who do you describe, who is this music for? I mean, it's not only for hip hop heads, it's not only for people who want some rock, it's not only for people who like some of the electric synth sounds that you have, it's not just for people in Michigan or people who are cultural of the background that you're from. Who do you make music for? When you're writing this, who do you envision is listening?
You know, there's a lot of things at once. There's obviously we want to make music for everyone, for all human beings, and that's part of the thing where being focused on the writing and the message and digging deep is like, you know, this can cut through the noise of genre. There's elements from all these different sounds, but really it's like, it's to make you feel something. And so there's something in it for everyone. But I often think of, you know, kids that felt like I did, where it's like I felt isolated, not really like I didn't belong, and I didn't know if how I felt was normal, and I was upset about things. And just having music that spoke to me and allowed me to, you know, reflect my feelings back to me and allow me to think about myself more deeply, and find some comfort in the world. It's like, you know, it's for anyone going through, overthinkers, hard drinkers, and everybody else.
You know, it's funny because I'm a teacher here in Detroit, and I run an English department at the alternative school at Detroit Lions Academy in Detroit. And when I came from Jersey, the same thing was, I thought it may be isolated there, especially after the pandemic. And then you come here and you see that it's here. And then you see it's globally. We are more connected through the phone and through social media, but more lonely and more distant than ever. We are more depressed and more sad than ever. We're looking for connection more than ever. And in your music, you reflect some of that. Why do you think it's like that? And what made you click to say, like, there is something we need to talk about, humanity and connection and people and
Yeah, I mean, I think we saw it on a mass scale, especially during COVID. It was like, whoa, it is so easy to get lost in our own echo chambers, and you're in this digital world with algorithms. You know, you can try to tame your algorithm, which definitely helps if you can, you know, get more content that does uplift you and help you. But it's just, we live in these worlds where you can stay fully occupied for an entire day without interacting with another human being. And we're getting these like short-term dopamine hits from it, but you don't feel, so it feels like, oh, I'm fine, until you're suddenly like, wait, I haven't like talked to people or interacted. And a really interesting thing I learned recently, the number one predictor of longevity in life, for staying alive, is not any of the things you would think. The number one factor is the impersonal, like the small interactions, like with your barista at the coffee shop, at the drive-through window, you know, with your neighbor, the wave and hello. All of those were the predictors of people that lived the longest, you know. And it's like, it's important, not only, you know, but that was really, it was very reassuring for me, because it's like, yeah, it's one thing, we need deep relationships and concerts and community and really feeling a part of something, but even just those small interactions are enough to, like, you know, keep us going internally and externally.
I think that's exactly what life is about. You know, when I go to the drive-through to pick up a cup of coffee, to see that person every day and say, hey, and give, you know, think about the students, the coworkers, the family, reaching out to people, your neighbor that's down the block, and just building that relationship with somebody, I think does make a difference. Because once we turn that off, I think then that's it. That's when we see.
Well, and that's where you start to get delusions about other people, other groups of people, races, political identities that you don't understand. If you go around the country and just interact with people, you're a nice person and kind to people, the vast majority of people reciprocate. Absolutely. And it's like, we're a lot more similar than we are different. And when we only see it through this, like through the screen, and then I don't see you, I see this and then that. And it's like, we lose sight of who we really are. You know, all of these little moments matter.
Well, that's our message for you all today. Take your barista and go see a Nadim concert. Go grab one. Be like, you free tonight? Let's go to the concert. Let's do it. I'm going to see you at a concert in a few minutes, and I'll say what's up and hey, and maybe I'll have to buy you one of those big blue scary drinks that I don't drink. That's out.
Those are amazing. The blue drink. That's a memory. That's a staple. That's part of the experience.
And we're going to stream your music. Everybody, all the links to the videos, the music, and everything is on the website or on social media. You look for it below. This is the artist you need to be on the lookout for. Stream all the music. Make sure you check it out and be ready for him when he's on the road and when he's got new music out. His new EP is out. You got to check it out wherever music is playing. It's such an honor to meet you. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to seeing you out here in these streets and more shows and more music and be out in Detroit with you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, and great to meet you. I'll see you tonight.
I'll see you tonight.